Hey loves, hope you're ready for another vulnerable live stream. So I am going to explore with you in this live stream the blocks to being flirty, playful, sexy around powerful men, or men that you're attracted to, and having an inability to express desire towards someone that you may feel an attraction to. And I'm just going to speak from what's been coming up for me, because you may look at me and think, oh, EJ must have this down pat. Well, I can tell you now, I do not. And I really want to speak to that. And I had a massive aha today, like huge. And I realized what my blocks are, and so I really wanted to share this because I know so many other women will probably resonate to this and have experienced some form of allowing themselves to be taken advantage of. And I want to speak to that, to experience I had where I had this realization this morning and a process that I went through, because I saw a really deep block around it, like a massive, like, it was like, I couldn't believe I've never seen this, but I mean, I believe it now. So what happened was, is I've got an amazing manifesting coach, and one of the things that she was suggesting is that asking yourself quality questions, like in the morning saying why, like, so it might be, why is my life so amazing? Why do I always have incredible things show up for me, right? And just putting the why out into the universe. So one of the things that I've been struggling with is when I meet a powerful man, a man I guess I would see as maybe kind of where I'm at, or that is really wise and knowledgeable and that I really admire and respect, is that I notice myself shut down my sexual desire, my sexual energy. I notice that I put him in this kind of safe friendship zone. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we're friends, and that feels safe for me, even though there might be this kind of underlying, oh, I wonder what it would be like to explore something with them, something more intimate, explore some intimacy, and but it's almost like I put this wall up where I don't even allow them to look at me like that. I do not flirt with them, and I shut down this playful, like, flirty version of me that with other men that does come out, but usually it's the men that I don't feel attraction to. It's kind of like that I feel probably more in my power than them, and it feels a bit safer, like, it's really interesting. So, but I found this energy of, like, it's like kind of when you like someone and you start acting like a bit weird around them, and you're like, why am I not myself? Like, why am I acting weird? And you're not like this full version of yourself. And so this is what happens. It's that kind of like a part of me shuts down. And I was hanging out with a man recently, and we were just like lying on the couch together, and like he touched me, and I kind of like it was this weird thing, like I was like, what do I do? And it sounds really stupid because I'm like, this is what I teach, right? I'm like, and I was like frozen, like my body was frozen, like I was moving around, but I was like in my head, like, what the fuck do I do? Like, do I touch him back? Does he want to be touched? I don't know. Like, like I was like, okay, you just let him lead, and like just, and then that was in my head, like thinking, what I really wanted to do is I wanted to like just fully like hug him and like get closer and like get in real tight, And then I was like, oh no, but what if he doesn't want that? Like, and this is so counterintuitive to what I'm normally like, and I'm really usually quite confident, like with a lot of my male friends, like I can touch and hug, and like it's just, and with my clients as well, like I touch people for a living. But in a session basis, it's like it's a safe container where I'm kind of directing, facilitating, and I'm fully aware that this is I'm providing the service, and there's no kind of emotional vulnerability there, right? So I'm getting really curious about why is this? Why do I feel like this freeze? Like, why do I like, what's going on? It's only around certain men. It's not around all men. It's not very often, but it's men I probably want to get closer to, but I've kind of put them in this friendship zone, but really I want to feel really free to just be flirty and playful and sexy and tap into this part of myself that's there. Oh, I'm all tangled. But it's just like I can't. It's like, what the hell? It's like I can't seem to tap into it. If this resonates for you, let me know. If you're a man or a woman and there's certain people that you're around and it's somehow like you just start acting weird and you're like, why? Like, and there's definitely some vulnerability. Like, if you've been through this, let me know. Like, because I think you're going to resonate to this. But there's a really beautiful piece to this, and this is going to be really helpful for women that have experienced some type of feeling like they've been taken advantage of in some way. So I'm getting to that point now. So this morning, one of the questions, I was like, right, I really want to I really want to get past this. I want to heal it. I want to work out what's going on, and I want to just show up in my fullness, no matter who it is, whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, who it is. I just want to show up as fully myself, in my juiciness, in my sexiness, in my feminine, in my flow, in my fun, and all of it, right? However that looks, right? So the question that I put out there was like, why is it so easy for me to be sexy, playful, and flirty around powerful men? That was the question. And then the thought that came to me was, well, you've made it somewhere along the line, you've made it wrong and shame yourself for being in that energy around men, and perhaps shaming yourself for being a seductress or appearing as a seductress or leading men on in a way that then has led to you being hurt in some way or not feeling safe in some way, that you so you kind of shamed and made that wrong and shut it down. And whether that was judgments of other people or whether it's actually something's happened, right? And so what was coming through was that, that's not safe to be in those desires, that there will be some repercussion, that something bad will happen, that this man will end up overpowering you. Like something around that, right, was sitting there. And so this is why it's sort of easier. Like the relationships that I've been in with men is usually I've been in this more kind of I guess in this leadership way, and that's felt safe, except I've decided that I'm not prepared to do that anymore, and I'm wanting to flip that. And so of course, since I've been calling that in, all my vulnerabilities around it are showing up for me to clear. It's like, well, if you want this kind of relationship with a man that you're not going to lead, that it's going to lead, and you're going to be more of a balance, right? Because I don't want him to have to lead all the time, but it's more of a balance, is that you're going to have to look at the vulnerabilities around why you're not allowing that to happen. So what this thing came to me after I had these thoughts was I had this memory come up of about 8 or 9 years ago, and I was working for a company, and the boss took us out for drinks, and we got really drunk, and I got really drunk, and the next morning I woke up and the boss was in my bed, and I don't remember this. I don't remember how we got there. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember, but I know that I slept with him. I know that I just knew that I had. I think. I don't know. This is the thing. I don't know. And what happened the next day, I had to go into work. And over the next week or so, some things happened where they took my office away. The boss, put me out, and I was a manager, and he put me out and into a main area. They did this real sneaky thing where they would say we were restructuring the company, and the three of you are going to have to take a pay cut, like me and the other managers. You guys are going to have to take a $5,000 pay cut. And he had actually told me that I would get a pay rise because I took a pay drop to come for that company. And I knew what was going on was that they were just trying to get me to leave, basically, because they didn't want to deal with the fact that and he was married with 4 kids. So I felt this shame about that. Like, what have you done? Like, this is your fault. You shouldn't have got drunk. You shouldn't have, you shouldn't have done all this stuff. Like, this is, and then there's also this like resentment of like how like also of like being, I guess, taken advantage of, or and being angry at myself for allowing that to happen. Like that kind of feeling of like, you know, you shouldn't even have put yourself in that position. Rah rah rah. Looking back now, like I can see some responsibilities, but at the end of the day, he was in a place of power. He, was my boss. He was getting people drunk, and there was some things that he had done previously to other women in the company, which is why some of them had left. And, you know, he'd ask us questions like, oh, you know, when did you lose your virginity? Like things that weren't appropriate in this, to things that weren't like, there were conversations that weren't appropriate. So now looking back, I know I probably could have sued him, but for sexual harassment, and probably built a pretty strong case. But at that point, I was like, I just want to get the fuck out. Like, I don't want to deal with this. Now, what I realized, this is where the big thing was, what I realized was that, what I realized was that there's an abandonment piece in there, and the abandonment piece is that I suddenly now was like not in the tribe of the workplace. I was now abandoned from the tribe, like basically ousted from the tribe, right? So it's almost like, this is like this piece of like being ousted from the tribe. If you like, and this man having power over that, like if you don't perform, or if you don't if you do something wrong, then you're basically going to be, this man is going to, you're going to be ousted from the tribe, right? This kind of feeling. And so, and then I started to realize that this has happened a lot in my life. Like even when I was a teenager and I dated a guy from school, and then all this shit happened, and then all the guys were like calling me a slut even though I was a virgin, and then all the women were like angry at me, like, and it was like, and it was something, and it was this, what I felt underneath was the seductress energy. Like it was almost like, well, I must have seduced him. I must have seduced these men. I must have like, and this guy, the boss, I was like, I must have seduced him in some way, enticed him to come, like that. It was like this. And it was like, so it was like, you know, don't be in this energy around men, because you know what's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. Don't show them that you're interested. Don't show them your desire. Don't touch them. Don't because at the end of the day, like you're like somehow going to get ousted from the tribe. And this goes back to like this instinct to fit in, to belong, to survive and be part of the tribe. Because if you get abandoned, you have to fend for yourself. And it's this deep longing we have to belong in the world. And so now it's like this avoidance of like even exploring or expressing my desires, or being in my sexiness or my playfulness and my flirtiness around powerful men. Because obviously there's this whole energy of, well, I've allowed myself to be taken advantage of before with powerful men, and I see all these different things. Now that's happened and how that's played out in my life. And so the other thing to this is that I connected it to my dad, who's a beautiful man, by the way. But if I connect it to my dad, what it is that my dad, really respect and admire him. And as a child, I was daddy's little girl. Like I was like doted on, I was deeply loved, like all this kind of thing. But what happens is that there's a point in time when a girl becomes a teenager, and all the things that dads do normally when the girl is a bit younger is like sitting on daddy's lap and having lots of cuddles and kisses and all this kind of stuff, which, you know, when you're a little girl, like it seems, you know, appropriate, but as a girl becomes a teenager and becomes a woman, now it's not appropriate for a woman to sit on her dad's lap, you know, this kind of thing. And so what I see, and I've identified and worked through this before, is that one of my biggest ways that I feel love is physical touch. Like it's like probably my number one. And so at some point in time, with my dad, the physical touch became inappropriate, right? Like and this is why I feel this, like I kind of feel like this freeze as well. Like, is it appropriate to touch? So it's like my dad was the first man in my life that I saw as powerful. My dad is the first man in my life that I saw as that I respected and admired and loved, right? So when I feel this energy of like freeze, it's almost like, well, is my touch going to be received, or is it going to be inappropriate? Like this kind of thing. And it's only with these men, like it's, otherwise I feel like fully free, and I'm like, but it's, and then obviously the other fear of like being ousted from the tribe, down the track or whatever. So this is deep stuff. So anyway, I'm going to get to my, like how I process this. And so this is all played out in my work life as well, like, you know, as an escort and creating safe spaces to explore touch. You know, even the tantric work, it's like a lot of it's about touch, and you know, it's my biggest love language. So it's no wonder that I ended up in this in giving and receiving touch in my life and my work. But these are all really safe containers and safe spaces, and I feel fully free, like to express myself. Because there's no like emotional vulnerability around being abandoned, this kind of stuff. Does that make sense? So the magic, I love the magic of the universe and how things show up. My beautiful friend Adrian, he came over this morning, and he was coming over we're going to do a session. Originally it was going to be a bodywork session, but it ended up being a coaching session because it's what I needed. And we sat down and I just shared all the stuff with him. I said, like, this is what's going on, like, this is what's coming up. And he held space beautifully. And we got to this, he got me to hold out my hands, and he was like, okay, so in this hand is EJ as this fully free, sexual, juicy woman that feels confident to ask for what she wants, and she's powerful on her no, and she's owning her like sexuality, and she's, you know, she's owning all these parts of herself, and she's just tapped into this raw, like it's like this animal that's wanting to come through, because I'm all like, I'm just sensual and tantric and la la la, and then but there's this like raw part of me, this animal that wants to just wants to, like this predator that just wants to go for what she wants and ask for what she wants and be like really strong on her nose and like this kind of stuff. And I feel like I've been so tantric and sensual and like this, that I've been missing this kind of part of me. And that, but it's there, and it's wanting to come through, and it's wanting to like be around a powerful man and be like, you know what, this is what I want, and be able to feel really confident in asking for what I want, because I know this is one of the blocks that I'm having to actually being in a relationship with a powerful man, because I have a fear there that I won't be able to have what I want because I'll end up wanting to please him, right? So, and again, this is connected to my dad. So this is all the stuff I've been working through the last few weeks. It's amazing what shows up when you start calling stuff in. And so it's like I held out this hand, and I was like, okay, this is this energy of like all like this, and it was like the sun, this radiance, and this juicy, powerful, raw, like woman who in many ways I do show up like this already. And then on the other hand, he's like, okay, so here's all the people, here's everyone else that is like your tribe basically, or the people that you are afraid that will like kind of abandon you if you show up in this version of you, in this next level version of yourself, right? And I was looking at this one hand, and I was like, looked at it, and the people that were in my hand were like, it was dark, and they looked like they were like sad and disappointed, and they felt bad, and it was almost this feeling of, if I show up this fully in my light and my amazingness and my like raw sexuality and this animal in my juiciness, if I show up this way, then I'm going to make other people feel bad about themselves. It was kind of like, and then they're not going to want to be friends with me. Something like, it was something around that. And so Yeah, and the thing is that I see women, I'm around women that are like, are just flirty and playful and sexy, and I see that, and they just don't care. They just fall like, well, you know, and around everyone, like they don't shut themselves down. And this is part of me that's like, feels like that I sometimes have these judgments of like, oh, they're wanting attention, and I know this is a judgment. I'm fully aware that it is. I'm fully aware of it, and because I sit back and go, okay, what's that about? Because this is a part of me that I've shut down. Because there's part of me is like, I wish I could be more like that. I wish I could just be more free like that, and just be in this like this feminine flow and like this, and go for what I fully go for what I want, and ask for what I want, and go up to a man and approach a man and tell him what I want, and then what desires I have. Like I like this. You know, and I see women doing that. I'm like, oh my God, how do you do this? Like, I want some of that, and I see them in the seductress, and yeah, so I see that, and so then if I'm to step into that, right, that version of myself, there's this fear, like, of this thing of that. Well, then other people are going to feel are going to separate themselves from me, like are going to. Like avoid me or judge me or this kind of thing. It's like if I shine up in my light, then people will be like, they won't get to have that or something like that. And I don't want that. I don't want other people not to have that. I don't want other people to feel bad. I want other people to be like too, right? And be in their amazingness. So what ended up happening is we brought myself closer to the people that were in the dark. And I was bringing it closer, and I was watching the people, and it was like I was the sun, and their faces were starting to light up, and they were smiling, and they were like happy. And then as I came closer, I kind of walked into the group of people, and they were all like happy and dancing and everything. And I held their hands, and I was like, wow, like, you know, like, and we just came together, and I kind of brought that into my heart. And so from that was this, I feel like powerful, like, I guess the message that came was like, it's not about stepping into light and this full, free, sexual being that you are is not going to, like, it's not about making people feel, it's not going to make people feel bad. Your light, if you bring light to your darkness, it is going to bring light to other people's dark, right? So the parts of myself that I've made dark or wrong or bad or shameful, if I bring light to those and I own them, it's going to bring light to the parts of other people that are dark, right? Instead of like making them less than, it's like building people up and putting and coming together, and then that is coming together. Because if I look at, there's been one woman that I've seen in this energy, and at the end of the day, what she's showing me is what I'm wanting more of in myself. And by her showing up in that energy, it's giving me the chance to reflect and go, yeah, I want more of that. And then to call it in and go, like, I'm opening to you showing me how I can embody more of that, and what I need to clear and what the blocks are, so that I can access these parts of myself that I know are in me, that I'm shutting down around certain people. Because I realize I don't shut this just down around men, I also shut it down around women. Because if I show up in this, you know, sensual, seductress, playful, fun energy, then it's this like, is this going to make other women feel bad and not enough? You know, so it's like not wanting to be too light. And the realization for me, I did not think I had this, because I know there's other women out there that don't show up in their fullness because they're afraid it's going to dim someone else's light, and that they'll be judged and there'll be separation. So I'll just keep myself small so people don't get jealous or get triggered or whatever. But I'm like, but I'm showing up so fully, and I'm like, you know, here, and I'm being vulnerable. But these are the parts that I'm already owning. So when I show up in this way, then you guys see me, like, I own these parts already. Like, I'm showing up in that. And I know there's other women out there that are in this sexy playfulness that are not in this, and not showing up like I show up. And on social media, in my business, in my purpose, they're not showing up. And then they look at me and they're like, oh, I want to be able to show up like EJ's showing up, right? So instead of us like creating the separation of like you're this and like I'm here, it's like, okay, how can we bring light to each other and access like these parts through being around each other and just almost having like a transmission, right? And, you know, being a light for each other and showing each other these parts that we need that we want to bring out more, right? So I know, and now, so what I'm doing now is I've journaled this afternoon on who am I as a sexual sun goddess woman, a fully expressed version of myself. Like, what are the qualities that I embody? How do I show up? This kind of thing. And what I know that I need to do is embody this, because the freezing is the nervous system, right? The automatic freeze. I'm not going to fix that in the mind. I'm not going to change that in the mind. This is why, like, we have to go deeper than mindset work. It's because it's a physiological thing. Like, I actually have to go into the physiology. I go into the body. And so what I did this afternoon is I went and I danced, and I was like, well, how would this woman dance? How would she move? How, you know, what would rise in her? And so this is what I was bringing through this afternoon. And I've been meaning for a long time to do a video and put it on Facebook of me and my sensuality, and it's on my to-do list for like over a month now, and I still haven't done it. And I know it's because there's some vulnerability there around being seen in this version of myself. The other piece that sits there for me is that it's the whole idea of being seen in this kind of playful, fun, sexy, flirty energy and not being taken seriously. Like, there's a story there of like, will people respect and value me if I show up in this childlike energy? And again, that goes back to starting to grow up and not getting to feel I can act like a kid anymore, because you have to grow up and you have to be responsible and blah blah blah, and shutting down those childlike qualities. And so it's about tapping into the erotic innocence again, and being playful and exploring, right? So there's all of that. all the things. And so there's a big permission piece here. It's like giving myself permission to explore all of this and to keep exploring it with myself, with embodying this new archetype that I've created for myself. I've got a photo that I'm using to identify like a reference point. And one of the things I was doing in the coaching session, I was going like this with my hands. I was like, yeah, it's like this. So this is like a reference point for me now. Like when I feel this vulnerability come up, or this nervousness, or this freeze coming up, this is going to be my new thing to do. Is going to be like, yeah, because it's going to tap me back in. Like, this is my sexual sun goddess woman is like bringing her, like my radiant woman is like, this is like bringing her in and tapping into her, right? So this is the embodiment piece. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing and exploring, and be willing to show up in this vulnerability around men and these different energies, allowing myself to be desired, you know, allowing like a man to be attracted to me. It's like, and this is what I've been calling in, right? So of course it's been showing up, right? So yeah, so I feel that's all I feel to speak to for now. There is more, but I just wanted to share that what came up, and I hope it resonated for some of you, and that you got something out of it, and perhaps you can take some of the things that I've shared with you around how I've been processing that. Of course, this is some of the things that I work through with my clients in our coaching sessions. This is diving deep into discovering those blocks, what's really going on. And this is also what I'm going to be exploring next week at my workshop on the art of loving men. We're going to be exploring like how you know, showing up and how you show up and shut down different parts of you around different people and different situations, and how to like start really tapping into those different parts of yourself and owning those parts of yourself, instead of shutting them down, so that you can be the full version of you as a woman, and as a sexual woman in particular. So of course, this is showing up for me now because this is what I need to bring through next week as well. So I just love the magic of that. It always happens before every workshop. It always happens. The stuff that needs to be coming through for the people that are attending will always show up for me. So I'm so like, should just run workshops to get my own healings, really. So anyway, if you're interested, I'll put the link here and you can have a look at it. And of course, if you want to work through some of the stuff, you can reach out and you can message me. And so grateful for everyone for listening. Thank you so much. And I'm committing and being accountable to doing my video of me dancing in my sensuality